The outside hitter from Elisa Viejo, the kill leader on the Cardinal, as well as service ace, is a big player to watch out for tonight. Megan McClure, the freshman, what can we say about her coming in as a freshman? Has done a fantastic job on this team thus far. Tammy Alade, the middle blocker and junior from Alberta, Canada. She'll be playing starting middle blocker tonight, followed by the sophomore Adriana Fitzmaurice, number 12. Fitzmaurice, such an impact player on this court, 6'6". And of course, Moretta Lutz, the 6'8" redshirt senior from Houston, Texas. Fitzmaurice and Lutz, a deadly combination at the net. Tonight's libero will be the sophomore Morgan Hentz from Lakeside Park, Kentucky. And the Stanford Cardinal, again coached by Kevin Hamley, named the sixth head coach here of the Stanford women's program. He just got brought on in January, spent 8 seasons as the head coach at Illinois, where he led them to 6 NCAA regional appearances, 178-86 at Illinois. What is Oregon State going to have to do tonight, Chris? And then we'll get to their lineups.
So you mentioned the new head coach at Stanford. That means it's a new look team for Oregon State. They are under familiar leadership, which means that they are taking on a familiar team with a completely different setup, save for Denise Corlett, who's still on the bench over there for Stanford and has been a stalwart for many, many seasons. But Oregon State is a much smaller lineup. They're going to need to move the ball effectively at the top, and then getting up for the blocks, they're going to really need to be coordinated to take on what is a height advantage team in the Stanford Cardinal.
All right, and for Oregon State, their starting lineups are going to be Grace Macy, Maddie Gravely, number 8, number 10, Maddie Goings, outside hitter. Kylie McLaughlin is going to be the setter. Number 14, Corey Cheshire, the middle blocker. Number 15, Mary Kate Marshall, outside hitter, the senior from Texas. And the junior from Idaho, Kayla Ellis, number 22. Tonight, the Oregon State Beavers and the dark blue, the Stanford Cardinal, in the white. And we got the Stanford band out here too. And before we begin, just would like to say happy National Sandwich Day. We'll get to some more stuff with that as we go along. Jenna Gray will start us off tonight for the Stanford Cardinal, and we're underway. Nice dump off by Kylie McLaughlin, the freshman from Carrollton, Texas. 4-time high school letter winner, and Oregon State strikes first.
Going to have to see much more of that for Oregon State. That needs to be the game plan tonight.
Here's the freshman, Maddie Goings. Alade tries to shove one down. Catherine Plummer with the up. They go cross court, and it's Moretta Lutz striking with the kill. We're even at 1-all. How important is Moretta Lutz going to be in this team tonight?
Yeah, I mean, she had a pretty good look there. She's going to be covering a lot of ground here on the near side from our broadcast position. She'll certainly be a key.
That one swung on by Goings, the freshman. And we'll get the kill, 2-1 Beavers. Opening set, best of 5 sets. Each set, 25 points. Now serving is the redshirt junior Corey Cheshire from Canada. Jenna Gray sets. And Moretta Lutz, somehow the Beavers got the up. And Stanford goes again, back to Lutz. And she'll finish it this time, the preseason on Pac-12 with the kill.
Well, Lutz got a better pass the second time through. That the first look was a little bit tough just because the way that the ball came over the net for the Cardinal, it was knuckling and kind of difficult to handle.
McLaughlin. Gray. Far side. Try to put away by Keefe. Keefe again. Oh, that's a big block up front. Taken care of by Gravely. 6'3" junior from Corvallis, Oregon.
Stanford got away with a lift there, so they should have probably been penalized a point anyway.
3-2 Beavers. Opening set, Kylie McLaughlin serving. Keefe, Gray, Lutz. And that was touched by Oregon State. Oh, excuse me. Check that. It might have been a net violation on the Stanford Cardinal. Point goes to Oregon State, 4-2. Lutz again, and swung on and long, 5-2, Oregon State.
Lutz kind of took a little bit off that swing, Ted, and I think that's what caused the ball, ironically, to just soar over that end line. Whenever you take something off a swing, you'll find that sometimes it's going to float on you. That's true for amateurs and players of a very, very high skill level like we're seeing here.
And there's the dump off by Fitzmaurice. And a side out.
Grace Macy got close to the pancake save, and we've seen her make already one very good save that resulted in a Beavers point. Nothing doing there.
Kate Formico, the freshman from Archbishop Mitty High School graduate here locally, serving for the Cardinal, and there's that double block. Big help. Fitzmaurice in on the block. They'll credit her. 4-5 Cardinal.
Fans of local high school volleyball will recognize Mitty as the powerhouse in the Bay Area.
Backside set by Gray. Double block up front. And Mary Kate Marshall in on it, the senior from Texas.
Impeccable timing.
Marshall, a big threat on the Beavers team. 392 kills this year, but she can certainly block up front as well. Oregon State serving 6-4. Formico with the dig and the tap over by Jenna Gray. They weren't expecting that and catching the Beavers off guard. Gray puts it away.
These two teams have traded dumps, and that's a very finessed way to score a point in volleyball. It's a real connoisseur's match here tonight thus far.
And this is a very exciting player, Megan McClure, the freshman. Mother played volleyball at Chapman, and she's been on fire this season for the Cardinal. And there's the kill from Catherine Plummer. Catherine leading the Pac-12 with 4.76 kills per set. And we're even at sixes. McClure to serve again. That's a great serve from McClure. Gets the service ace, and the Cardinal in front for the first time tonight.
That serve just hooked to the floor. 12-6 curveball.
McClure already in her first collegiate career double-double. This year at Colorado, 10 kills, 14 digs as she serves again. 7-6 Cardinal. Backside set. That's lifted up by Formico. And Catherine Plummer trying to find the back corner. Swung on long and even at 7. Grace Macy, the freshman from Beaverton, Oregon. Oh my goodness. Adriana Fitzmaurice with total destruction at the net. That 6'6" frame is going to help her, and she's showing it right there. Finding the gap, weaves it right through. 8-7 Cardinal. Backside set. Haley Bennett in on the kill.
What a fantastic set. Not telegraphed in the least. And you run the risk on that back set if you put it too far, the ball's going to be outside the antenna.
Here's Kayla Ellis from Idaho, the junior. Led the team last year with 453 digs. Can serve quite well with 11 service aces last year. There's a big hit from Plummer. The Beavers keep it alive, and they push it over. This would be a nice look for the Cardinal. Alade trying to finish it up. Plummer with the up. Gray and Alade with the finish. As we take another look, our Gatorade replay. This from Gray. Quick set. And Alade flying up to get it. 9-8 Cardinal. That's a service ace. That was right on the line from Jenna Gray. Leads the Pac-12, 8th nationally right now in aces with 30. Make that 31 now. And we'll have our first timeout.
I think they're going to review. Grace Massey let that ball go on the serve, and I think she did the right thing to let it go because that ball might have been out, Ted.
So this will be our first challenge.
Yeah, so I think to the naked eye from where I sat, which is actually kind of right close, that was out by just a touch.
Wow.
But you tell me if you think differently.
I saw it right on the line, but you were 2 feet closer than I was.
Well, I'm about to get, what do the kids say? Get owned? About to get owned?
The broadcaster's jinx. As we had a great fans and attendance tonight here at Maples Pavilion. Glow-in-the-dark shirt giveaway. We got the Stanford band out here tonight. As we have our first official review, Oregon State is challenging the serve from Jenna Gray. It was called an ace, but head coach Mark Barnard, who's named the head coach last year in June for the Oregon State Beavers, is challenging the call. We'll see how it comes out in just a moment.
I don't mind a challenge. You got to let Grace Massey make a decision on that ball, and I thought the freshman made the correct decision to let that ball go, and it happened to, it looks like, clip just inside the rectangle. So
it did.
Hey, if anyone's scoring at home, Ted 1, Chris 0. If anyone's keeping that score.
And it's 10 Stanford, 8 Oregon State right now. Gray serving again. That's a big block up front. Gray, Alade, weaves it through. Tammy Alade, the junior from Canada, block leader on this Cardinal team so far this season. Gray serving again, 11-8. Gray comes from a sports family. Dad played basketball here. Mom, sister played volleyball at Virginia.
It's a heck of a swing right there from Alade. She hasn't had a momentum swing yet tonight, and yet she's very much on point. And Stanford, on that same accord, has been staying away from things like pipe sets and back sets, instead playing a very straightforward but fundamentally sound game.
It's Goings with the big hit. Plummer with a soft touch over. Beavers keep it alive. Goings again. And that would be a net violation on the Stanford Cardinal. Point goes to Oregon State. Back to serve is Goings, the freshman from Aledo, Texas. Selected first team All-State in Aledo High School. 9 serving 12. Opening set. Lutz. What an up by Ellis. Here's Gray. Plummer. Plummer finds the shot right down the line.
Catherine just kind of batted that ball over.
It was like a soft touch volley right on the line.
Seeking a part of the floor where nobody was.
Beautiful piece of work. Plummer, the preseason All Pac-12 Conference. Honorable mention, serving. Up by Hentz. Plummer into the net.
So there's your first pipe set for Stanford, really trying to get the fastball swing down the middle and try to get that going, but I think it was just too far back.
And Massey will check out for Oregon State. In the serve is Corey Cheshire, middle blocker, Richard Jr. from Alberta, Canada. Gray with the set. Alade tries to finish. Marshall. Gray with a far set. And swung on by Michaela Keefe. And she'll be credited with the kill.
Yeah, sometimes with that angle, the importance of having velocity on the ball as soon as you hit it is really kind of the pivotal thing. Is that ricochet needs to find its way out.
That's Morgan Hentz with the serve. It hit the ref right on the forehead. Service error. Sends a free point to the Beavers. As Kylie McLaughlin serving 11-14. There's that deep set. Up by Massey. Pushed over. Here's a free ball opportunity for the Cardinal. Gray. Lutz finds open court and gets the kill. 15-11 Cardinal. As we take another look at this, there's Gray, and in comes Lutz with all kinds of space in the backcourt to weave through.
Initiating the timeout by Mark Bernard. I think that was the best game flow point of the contest thus far. As far as Stanford's concerned, they didn't get that pipe set moments ago. They didn't get any of the real back sets they were looking for. And then right there, they basically completed everything they wanted to do. And additionally, movement on the floor was better than it had been early, as Stanford really kind of fell into stride.
Well, Oregon State using a timeout. 15-11 Stanford Cardinal out in front in this opening set. They're on a 14-game win streak, as we mentioned. The Cardinal hitting 306 as a team to opponents 172. And with a 4-point lead right now in the opening set, what is Oregon State going to have to do to try to get back in this a little closer?
Ted, if you remember back to the first couple of points of this first set, you got to remember what Oregon State did well. They had dumps that were scoring points effectively. A lot of the at-the-net stuff that worked out well for them were tips. And because of the fact that when you throw a tip out there, you can't necessarily eat a block and have to kind of play a scattered game because Stanford is a little bit taller up front. You're really going to want to increase the finesse, if possible, around the net, as opposed to just the high-velocity swings.
That's a great point. The height advantage, too, that the Cardinal have, and they always have done a great job recruiting taller players. When you're looking at really tall players like Moretta Lutz and Adriana Fitzmaurice at the net, that's a tough combo to get through on blocks. As we resume the action here in Maples Pavilion, 15-11 Cardinal. And that was a double hit for the Beavers. Point Stanford. Kate Formico serving again, the freshman. Third on the team right now, and Diggs made her collegiate debut against Long Beach State. Deep serve from Formico. Setting to the outside, and Hentz try to pull it up just short. Well, Hentz doesn't miss too many of them. Ranks 8th in the Pac-12 with 3.58 digs per set. Here's Marshall serving. Gray with the set outside, a tip over the front blockers, and it falls in. Michaela Keefe with the soft touch.
Side saddle to the net. Keefe didn't have great visibility of where the open spot was on the floor, so she was going off of where her teammates were positioned to try to figure out where everyone was as we watch it again.
Stanford up by 5, first set. Megan McClure, the freshman, serving. That was a good serve from McClure. And a low set for Oregon State. They can't rally behind it. It's 18-12 Stanford. And another timeout called by head coach Mark Barnard of the Beavers.
I mean, I think when you just airball a pass like that, Ted, you almost have to call a timeout. Very limited options, especially as the lead grows for Stanford.
Oregon State now with just one timeout remaining in this opening set. Cardinal up by 6. As the reigning national champions look very comfortable as this Maples Pavilion stadium is filling up this season. Filling up well tonight. Expected over 2,000 fans in attendance, so make sure if you want to come out, go Stanford.com. It's where you go to get all those tickets.
And only a handful of home games left. This is the second time through the Pac-12 slate for Stanford. When they went to Oregon State, it was on the back end of a doubleheader that started off in Eugene. That was on the 10th day, or rather the 8th day of October. So very close to exactly a month ago this week.
Now Stanford will play Oregon on Sunday, and then they're going to head up to the Great Northwest. They'll be at Washington and Washington State before coming back home.
You always want to start that trip with Washington. You fly into SeaTac, and it's a very easy trip to get to where the Huskies play, and then getting out to Pullman is kind of, you want that extra day just to get out to Pullman because it's a bit out of the way. It's the most out of the way of any of the schools in the conference.
And we're set to resume action. Opening set 18-12 Stanford. Megan McClure serving. Deep serve from McClure. McLaughlin. Double block up front. Gets over the fingernails of the Cardinal. That was Plummer in on the block. 13-18. Grace Massey serving. Gray, backside set. Finds the angle. That's Adriana Fitzmaurice again.
I don't know if Massey misread that ball. Maybe she thought it was going long, but Fitzmaurice put some spin on that ball, and it was right dead center where she wanted to put it.
Well, the Fitzmaurice family all about the spin. Her mother played on the Peruvian national basketball team. Her father played in the basketball team in Peru and Sweden. As some fighting on the floor, and Kylie McLaughlin is credited with the kill. All right, let's take another look at this. (14) serving 19. Kayla Ellis. Over 200 digs this year, the best setter on the Oregon State Beavers. And it's point Cardinal.
I think Ellis tossed it only about chin height and almost wanted to just eat it, or at least put a B serve over the net, but Ted, sometimes that's just hard to do when the toss is so low. A higher toss is far more forgiving.
Well, this is a player who can certainly toss well. Jenna Gray, the ace leader. But as I jinx myself, a service error from Gray.
So the toss was clean and just kind of a little bit too much heat on the swing. It's a delicate thing.
Here's Goings. Cardinal up by 5. First set, Moretta Lutz. And here's a great free ball opportunity. Gray, they go right back to Lutz, and there's the finish. Well, if she doesn't get you the first time, she's going to get you the second time. And the Cardinal are 4 points away from capturing the opening set here at Maples. Catherine Plummer serving, thinking about becoming a physical therapist after a time here, the sophomore. Mary-Kate Marshall carved that very nicely. Some slice clips the line. 16, serving 21. Corey Cheshire, majoring in sociology and psychology at Oregon State, serving. Gray with the set. They go to Lutz, and Lutz doesn't go big. She goes with the pullback finesse and captures another Cardinal point, 22-16.
The dink wasn't the only option there. We've seen Stanford pulling back here a little bit.
It's Maddie Goings credited on that last point. Little confusion on the Cardinal side with Fitzmaurice in on the block.
Pipes that from behind the dotted line.
Oregon State down by 5. Keefe. Marshall hits the scoreboard, and the Cardinal keep it alive, pushed over by Plummer. The dig by Hentz. Keefe pushes it over again. McLaughlin, and there's the kill. Haley Bennett, the 6'1" redshirt freshman from Oregon. She's hitting .256 this year. What a great point.
Yeah, that point had everything. It had the pyramidal scoreboard getting hit. It probably had a lift in there. The Beavers benefited from a no call.
Lutz. And Lutz gets it done. Cross court on the kill, 23-18.
I've got an axe to grind with how infrequently lifts get called now.
You got an axe to grind. Love it. Kate Formico serving. Down the line. McLaughlin. Lutz pushing it over. The double block. Over the double block. Hentz digs it up. Gray backside set. And Plummer captures the end line. And it's set point. The fans on their feet here at Maples Pavilion. 24-18. And it's Kate Formico to serve for the opening set. Clips the net. Pushed over by Goings. And that's out. And the Stanford Cardinal, 25-18. They capture the first set in 30 minutes. They lead 1-0.
Yeah, a lot went right for Stanford there, Ted. I think they did a nice job with movement up front. I kind of thought that the blocks might just be too big, but in the end, it wasn't a size differential that made the difference. It was a finesse differential. Stanford had slightly better coverage up front, but boy, did they do a nice job finding places on the floor where the Beavers didn't have coverage. And you would think the Beavers, being a slightly shorter team, would actually do a little bit better vacuuming balls up off the floor, a little bit more like Gabby Ailes to come back to a Stanford player that just was very, very good at playing balls that were like kneecap height or below, even kicking balls. Kavika Shoji, another Stanford player that I think of when I think of balls on the floor. Eric Shoji, balls on the floor that you kind of kick up or dig up or however you get out of trouble and you get the ball back over. Well, Stanford was doing a nice job putting the ball at places on the floor that just nobody could find. No one could stop.
Well, Stanford with the opening set, 25-18. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll be back in 2 minutes with Chris Fitzgerald on the play-by-play for set number 2. Stanford leads 1-0.
I've been working on my sock game. That's a big deal for me.
Take a minute, just spin it, ladies.
It's all about recycling.
Spread the word. Spread the word. Spread the word.
Of November, a glorious day. It was almost a day where we got a dusting of rain, and in fact we still could have. We're indoors, so I'm not sure here, Ted, but the sights and sounds of autumn, which are so beautiful here in the Bay Area, and I dare say even better up in Corvallis, are upon us.
Yeah, it's a beautiful night. It's a beautiful night in Maples as the fans are excited. I'm excited to be here. The Stanford Cardinal, I think they're poised to make another national championship run this year.
Now they're trying. They picked up that first set. Now it's going to be Kayla Ellis to get us underway in the second. Beavers serve. It's a top spinner and quickly gathered by Gray over the top, just kind of free-balled by Plummer. Front side swing on the way too far out in front of Goings, and so on the tip back, Stanford collects the opening point. Goings there with the swing was kind of a little bit side saddle to the net and did everything she could do with that ball, but in the end it was the big blocks of Stanford that came up with the block assists for the point. Speaking of block assists, a couple of stats to go over from that first stanza that Stanford collected. Oh, there's a swing from the midline. Backside set. Oh, it was a good one. Lutz this time with the kill. She leads all players with now 6 kills.
And something, Chris, we've talked about in the past with this Stanford Cardinal team is just how well they distribute everything in terms of attacking the mixture of. There's no one leader as opposed to Oregon State, who's relying mainly on Haley Bennett with 4 points and Maddie Goings with 3. The Stanford Cardinal is distributed well. There's multiple players with over 2.5 points, and that's something you love to see, a well-balanced team, and that's what a championships team is. So we'll see how they can venture on that tonight.
Mary Kay Marshall found the floor in that last point. Oregon State serves, and the swing from dead center straight away. Kind of the end-around route that time for Alade. Ends up for a Stanford point. We'll watch the replay here, Ted. Plenty of elevation on the swing. Plummer with the cross-court serve, picked off. Upward by McLaughlin, swung over. Jenna Gray, that time goes to Lutz on the backside setup. 3 on the block for Stanford. It's a high, basically free ball over. Front side from Plummer. Tipped away. Keefe tried to dink it over, was not able to do so. Backside setup from Gray, and that's this time a good one. She went to the front side, I misspoke. And in the end, Keefe was the late trailer. And it's 4-1 Stanford. We'll watch that again.
Yeah, that was Alade.
We've had a little bit of, I guess that was the late replay, but it was Alade with the swing. Cross court. This is trouble for Massey. Played over, and it tips off the block, and it's 4-2. Stanford hasn't blocked particularly straight away thus far, but Ted, you did hit on a good point. They've been solid in all aspects of the game, which were enough to propel them in that first set.
Yeah, there's only been 3 blocks so far.
Alade that time went for kind of the home run swing towards the back and found a home for it, 5-2.
And what the Stanford fans are going to love to hear, the Cardinal are hitting 333. You compare that to Oregon State's 250. That's why they're ahead tonight.
Strong swing, Hens saved it. Gray. Oh, and unfortunately Plummer comes up short on the pipe set. We'll have to free ball it back into the net are the Beavers, though.
And that violation on the Cardinal.
Oh, pardon me. It seemed like that was ultimately a flip. By the way, Ted, I have an axe to grind that I need
yeah, let's talk about that axe.
I need to get this off my chest. It's 5-3 Stanford, by the way. And the
whatever you need, Chris.
The server is McLaughlin, so 5'10" freshman will get us underway. Kind of a side spinner. Overpass. Stanford able to bat it back over. Keefe was in the neighborhood, swung on it. Confusion on the block, tipped over. That's going to be a point for the Beavers. Haley Bennett was in the neighborhood, redshirt freshman from Philomath, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Corvallis. But that axe to grind, Ted.
Yes.
The lift in volleyball is almost never called anymore. It used to be called in the mid-2000s at appropriate, I thought, intervals. And it's kind of like the I guess you'd call it like a double dribble in basketball. Remember, if you watch basketball highlights from even the early 90s, no one was palming the ball quite as much as they do now, turning it over. But bit by bit, people started to get away with more and more, and the whistle stopped blowing, and that's kind of where we are with that lift violation in volleyball. All right, that's the axe to grind. I'm done with it. Meanwhile, it's 5-all. Beavers have come back. Overpass again off the initial save. And Stanford scooped it, and Fitzmaurice found the kill.
Yeah, let's take another look at this Bank of America replay. And there's Fitzmaurice finding the opening, getting it into open court. Cardinal ahead 6-5.
Formico. It's a stellar serve, creates some problems here. McLaughlin initially gave it to Marshall. Marshall's second swing is into the block and down, and it's 6-all. First stanza went the way of the Cardinal. They are 19-2 overall this season. 3.5 games up in the Pac-12. Knuckleball serve, saved well. Gray's backside set with plenty of time. Fitzmaurice with another kill.
3.5 games up in first place in the Pac-12.
Utah in the picture. A couple of other teams kind of swarming in second place, but Stanford does appear to be in the driver's seat. Washington at 8-4 in conference. USC shares that same record as Colorado is 8-5. So once you get to kind of that middle segment, it's a bunch of teams that have 2 losses to Stanford and then a loss to another couple of teams, and that's it. Tied up at 7. We're on the seesaw here in Palo Alto. Backside set, swing on the way. Fitzmaurice had a good swing, and it created some confusion.
Oh, and that was a rocket coming off the Stanford Cardinal. If we can take another look at that, I don't know if we can, but it went right at the freshman Grace Massey, and she just looked at her hand like, wow, that was a hot one.
Marshall ultimately got the last touch, but you're right, Massey was the only player that had any kind of a chance on that. Tape serve this time. Front side set up, a little bit behind the swinger. Goings got it, and now from the 16-foot line, played over by Fitzmaurice. That's going to create chaos and become a kill. Stanford back on top. 9-7. Oregon State, by the way, 6-6 in conference, but 16 wins against 8 losses overall.
Yeah, Fitzmaurice with that knuckleball right on the latter half of the court.
Into the double block. Stanford will get a swing here. It's a good one. Plummer finds a home. Maybe one of the cleanest looks that Stanford has had this evening, Ted.
Yeah, let's take another look. Our net cam angle, and boy, does that come out like a cannon.
10 serve 7. Fitzmaurice, more confusion. That's a service ace.
We'll add another service ace to the Cardinals already. I believe that's 3 that they have. Make that 4 now. So 119 aces so far this season to opponents 57. They're on fire from the line.
You know, Stanford on the men's side had this guy named Eric Shoji who would come in at the end of sets and he would throw up a defensive float serve that everyone knew was coming, and the frequency with which he was able to find the floor with it was exceptionally high. I think Stanford is a program here tonight that shows all kinds of different looks, Ted, and that float serve is almost sort of kind of becoming a little bit of a thing. Balls that just barely are on the descent as they get across the net, and the goal is to have them end up short such that it creates more confusion and not necessarily is tough to field athletically, but becomes tough to field from just a communicative standpoint with 3 players up front in the rotation. 11-7, Stanford on top. Ted, it's a pretty good crowd. You've mentioned that they expected somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 people. It's a crowd that is filtering in. Still, there's much more action going on around the farm, I should say, this evening, and for that reason, we could expect the crowd to be somewhat late arriving, and potentially we could expect some in and out as well as people kind of bounce from one facility to the next. That's one of the nice things about these facilities here in Palo Alto is there is no one athletic facility that is not within easy walking distance from another, which for a school with more Division I sports than any other program in the country is saying a lot. The swing there was Kylie McLaughlin, freshman Texan, gets us underway out of the timeout, and it's 11-8 Stanford with now the Beavers holding serve.
Well, it's a beautiful campus, no doubt about that. Beautiful facilities here on the farm. As we got a tight battle here in the second set.
Kayla Ellis, 8 serves 11. Pretty nice pass there. Swing on the way from Plummer. She's going to get another shot here. That's a good one, but just barely long.
Yeah.
You know what, Ted? I almost want to... Stanford's not going to challenge, but I want to see that again.
No, I think it was just long, but had the right idea. In that back left corner, just couldn't quite hit her mark.
We don't control the replay. Why? 11-9. Just 9 serves 11. There's a swing that will find the floor. Alade from straight away. One of the things that Tammy Alade has not had a lot of up until this second frame is a running start. She hasn't had too much in the way of swings that weren't particularly flat-footed, and that was just based on where balls were on the floor. It was no fault of her own. Now, with a bit more momentum on the swings, Alade has been almost perfect.
And a quick note here, Kylie McLaughlin on that last play for Oregon State fell into the crowd, the chairs that are on the floor, so holding her left wrist a little bit. We'll see if that's going to be a factor as Alade slams it down.
I mean, the pass was low. Maddie Goings maybe could have tipped it over, but instead went for the swing instead, right into the double block. Which, I mean, you could make a case that that's a solo block. They're going to call it a block assist in the standings, but I mean, that's a solo block.
And check that was Moretta Lutz, not Alade.
14-9. Stanford this time gets the benefit of the call on the end line.
Another ace for the Cardinal.
Cardinal on top. I want to say that Stanford should have a sizable advantage at the block, and here in the second frame, that is really showing through. Another fireball serve, this time fielded cleanly. McLaughlin with the pass, put over by Corey Cheshire. Corey, a junior middle block out of Alberta.
Yeah, Corey Cheshire, a good player. She's hitting .303 this year. Over 240 points she's racked up for the Beavers.
So she sees extended time, although we have not called her name all that often here today as the float serve floats over everything. 15-10.
Yeah, service error from Maddie Goings. Stanford says thank you.
Plummer to serve it.
In the meat of this match on National Sandwich Day.
I was waiting for one of those. You're late on that.
Oh, there's more. There's more coming.
Service ace as that ball clips off the tape on the initial touch. 16-10. One of the, I guess, most famous sandwich spots in the Bay Area, Ike's Sandwiches, was all but founded here on the campus of Stanford University. In fact, the first Ike's was on the campus of Stanford University, so because of that, you could say it's founded here. 16-11, but the names of various fairly well-known Stanford athletes are engraved in Ike's sandwich lore if you go to Ike's on campus, or now they have locations in Redwood City and San Francisco. Not a paid advertisement, as a overpass off the initial dig. A swing on the way into the double block. Michaela Keefe had a pretty good look at that ball. Tipped away, and it's 16-12. Oregon State gets the serve back into the double block that has been very, very good for the Beavers as well. I want to say that Corey Cheshire deserves a fair bit of credit for getting into the block, but Maddie Goings has been pretty much dead center there as well.
Yeah, Maddie Goings is actually their block leader. Or excuse me, Maddie Gravely, who we haven't even seen too much of tonight.
Players sprawled out on the floor. Front side set up, and it's Alade. No telegraph whatsoever on the pass, which is maybe the most important point. Jenna Gray with the short pass. Alade comes out now, but had the right idea the whole way. 17-12, Stanford on top. Backside setup. Clips off the block. An aggressive swing, and Michaela Keefe finds a home for it. We'll watch that one again, I hope. We don't control the replay. That must be just glaringly obvious to our
Yeah, no replay there, but
viewers.
A beautiful play and a timeout called by Oregon State. So they're out of timeouts here in the second set. 18-12 Cardinal out in front.
18-12, and Stanford's look solid. I can't pick a specific part of this second frame that looks better than the first, but certainly one area where Stanford has had more success. The swings, just the straightaway kind of conventional swings, are finding a home much more often, Ted.
Yeah, I think so, and No, they're holding the edge right now in this match, up 1-0. Oregon State, they're searching for answers right now.
Yeah, as you watch the team play, and Oregon State has really had a metamorphosis as a team overall. They used to have a team that had considerable size up front. They had strong swings. Now they've got a team that plays very fundamentally sound volleyball, but they're at a bit of a disadvantage because of the situation at the blocks. So what we're seeing is crisp, fundamental volleyball. It's the kind of volleyball that you really want to bring your kids out to watch, but at the same time, you are seeing that advantage at the block for Stanford, and that's what's propelling at least a bit of this lead, as well as the first set win for the Cardinal. A dozen points on the board in this second stanza for the Beavers. They will receive serve in the black unis with white lettering, orange trim. Front side set. Oh, what a save. Hentz was all over it. And a swing from Keefe. Bats off a couple of different players after it pinballs around a touch. Stanford ends up with the point.
And they're really working in Keefe a lot more, and she's firing on all cylinders right now.
Backside setup clean, but into the block and blocked down by Fitzmaurice, who was into the scene from the side, and I think...
And here's her net cam.
Look at where she came from to make this play. Way off to the side. Her hands weren't directly overhead, which is kind of a no-no in terms of blocking, but because that was dinked over, she got a read on it and just put it down. 20-12, Stanford up by 8. A swing, wow.
Save by Hentz. And there's Keefe again.
Off the block. Or I should say, to the back.
Oh, Michaela Keefe getting involved. Wham.
Into the double block. Stanford with now 5 unanswered.
And that is a scary thing to see if you're Oregon State. Moretta Lutz, 6'8", and Adriana Fitzmaurice, 6'6", staring at you on the other side of the net.
They're keeping a running score. Stanford up by 10 here. Peeled back and probably got away with a lift again, but Stanford's going to get a point as Jenna Gray gets credit for literally peeling that back from the other side. 23-12, Stanford 2 points away. Low toss, but able to get it over. Now into the double block, and I think that...
Yeah, that was Serena Bruin, and it's set point for the Cardinal again. Serena Bruin trying to put some extra sizzle behind it.
The Lutz-Fitzmaurice combo with the double block. Swing on the way, this time a bit more of a high arcing trajectory. Swing on the way from Keefe. She'll get another look, saved by Hentz. Keefe gonna have to touch it over, oh no, instead that ball just barely missed the pyramidal scoreboard and fell just short of Keefe, who would have had to kind of make a Willie Mays continuation play to get that ball over the net. Unfortunate trajectory of the pass. 24-13.
The Stanford Cardinal looking at 11 set points.
Ball was probably going out. Stanford saves it. Backside setup is a clean one. Rolls along the tape, and then the Beavers recover. Swing on the way, touchdown, and the swing was Mary Kate Marshall. She'll get an excuse me kill there, as the touch from Hentz was, I think, a little ambitious. Maybe it was going to end up out off the side.
Some acrobatics from Morgan Hentz. That was unbelievable.
High up on the forearms, ball gets the initial touch. Flat-footed swing ends the set. Michaela Keefe from the dotted line hammers that one home, and it's 25-14, the second set.
Well, Michaela Keefe's mom, Kristen Klein, a Stanford Hall of Fame volleyball and Olympian. Michaela Keefe showing up big time in set number 2.
We'll take the extended break for the intermission. Ted will come back with stats and just a bit of analysis of that second set. Stanford leads it 2-0. Call it about a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back for just that recap, and then the third set as Stanford goes again for the clean sweep.
Every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time. 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 Dive with tell me what you dive with. Tell me what you dive with.
They are the Stanford Cardinal, the new guys on the block. You guys at the top of the podium. the Cardinal.
Grant Fisher, the Pac-12 champion, we kind of expected him to be in that lead pack, but it's guys like Stephen Fahey gets up for third. That's the reason Stanford is able to unseat Colorado.
You guys are holding the banner. This is a big deal because Colorado's been here for the last 6 seasons. How did you guys do it today?
Well, we have a lot of respect for Colorado. They're a fantastic team and they're tough racers. I think today we just ran with really good team chemistry. We keyed off one another really well, and we stayed really tough over the last 4K, which was the race plan.
I've always wanted to come to Stanford. I think it was when I was in middle school, I started researching universities, and Stanford was at the top of the list, and I really wanted to go here. And I took some classes that were in the history department and really liked it, and so I settled on history, and I have a concentration in law. The amount of people who are just doing amazing things and are just really humble surprised me. I am in the Stanford Gospel Choir, and I am very involved in the Black community here, and it's really helpful when you have a group of people that support you and a network of friends outside of soccer. Being away from home and transitioning into a new environment is tough, and it's great having friends that you can go to. I want to go into the law field after college and really make a difference in people's lives. And I think having, an identity outside of soccer is really important, and being at Stanford has really helped me dive into realms outside of the sport and finding passions that bring me joy.
She'll also be doing the videos for men's basketball and gymnastics this season. And welcome back to Maples Pavilion. We're about to start set number 3. Ted Emberg with Chris Fitzgerald. Stanford Cardinal leads 2-0. As we'd like to thank the newest addition to the Stanford Cardinal, Angela Roblito, for all of her work that she does on our volleyball videos that you were just seeing. She's new to the crew from Maryland and Miami. She'll also be doing videos this season for Stanford Cardinal athletics in men's basketball and gymnastics. So we thank Angela for the great work. We're very appreciative as we get set for set number 3. This place is getting loud as the Stanford Cardinal look to push their win streak to 15 games in a row. 19-2 overall. They're perfect in the Pac-12 conference with a 12-0 record. They captured the first set 25-18, 25-14 in set 2. And Jenna Gray will get things started for set number 3. And don't forget, men's basketball season opener Friday, November 10th, Stanford against Cal Poly, 4 p.m. Free admission for military service members, or get your tickets at gostanford.com. Now the Cardinals hitting percentage on the rise from the first to second set. They were smoking the ball 406 as Gray starts off with a service error, free point for the Beavers. They were hitting 333 in the first set, 406 in the second. 6 service aces and 2 times the blocks that Oregon State has. That was Cheshire on the serve, and Lutz with the placement. We're tied at 1. Catherine Plummer, the sophomore from Aliso Viejo, undeclared here at Stanford University at preseason All Pac-12. Back to serve. And Plummer dumps it into the net. 2 service errors to start off the third set for the Cardinal.
Yeah, sometimes you get that out of the long break especially. It's almost like you need to remember even just the smallest, most finite parts about something as complex as a serve.
And Kayla Ellis will check out for Oregon State. Mary-Kate Marshall in and back to serve. Is going to be now Kylie McLaughlin. Alade with a big swing. Far side, trying to find the placement, and she does. That's Mary-Kate Marshall, the senior from Texas. Started every match last year. Marshall was ranked 2nd in the Pac-12 in kills per set. 3-1 Beavers. Lutz goes cross court, a little soft floater. Here's the up by Massey, and the finish from Oregon State, leading now with, I believe, their biggest lead in a while. 4-1 third set.
Ties their biggest lead of the day, which came early on in the first set.
McLaughlin serving. Plummer, Gray, outside, and that's Keefe, who's been a big threat as this match has progressed, and Keefe with the kill. Another big threat. So many big threats on this Stanford Cardinal team. There's Morgan Hentz, who's been flying all over the court, digging up every ball. A little dump-off shot, and there's going to be a net touch, or it might have been a double touch on Oregon State. Either way, it's going to be point Stanford 3-4.
I think Fitzmaurice thought she was into the net.
That's what I thought too. And Hentz with a service error.
On the previous point, Fitzmaurice did the old, like, I didn't do it face, which normally it means you did do it, but in the end, benefited from what was ultimately a coin flip of a call.
Here's Mary-Kate Marshall serving. Keefe, Gray, backside Lutz with a touch. That was a great up, but no one was there to collect it. From Serena Bruin, point Stanford. Here's Kate Formico, freshman from Saratoga. 2016 California Open Division state champs and senior captain at Archbishop Mitty. Fitzmaurice. Oh my. Fitzmaurice with the attack and then comes back to get the block. She can do it all. Take another look at this as we're even at 5s. And that's the latter half of that point as Fitzmaurice comes in to make the solo block. 5-all. Clark Gray goes back to Fitzmaurice over the double block. Lifted up by McLaughlin. Swung on by Marshall. And that's Haley Bennett credited with a point as Serena Bruin will check out. In comes Corey Cheshire, the redshirt junior. Serving as the libero, Grace Macy. Macy, one of 4 daughters from the Macy family. And teed up perfectly by Keefe. Tied at 6. Megan McClure. There's the standout freshman. Mother played volleyball at Chapman. Floats one deep. McLaughlin. Quick set. And free ball here. Plummer just pushes that over. And that's over the head. Point, Oregon State. Some substitutions now as Haley Bennett checks out. Kayla Ellis on the line. 7-6 Oregon State. And service error. Hands a free point to the Cardinal, 7-all.
It's a real big surprise, to me at least, that the Beavers only have 2 Californians on the roster. Something you just wouldn't expect from any team in the Pac-12.
Gray, Plummer, into the net. Now, why does that surprise you, Chris?
It's just such a volleyball haven. I mean, you're used to, if you grow up around here, you're used to watching kind of like grainy footage of Midi. They're down in the pit in San Jose, Midi Monarchs volleyball. They are the team here up north, but then you go down south and you've got teams like Maricosta, extremely good. Stanford has had a pipeline from there forever since Alex Kleinman. But in addition, you've got Redondo, you've got all kinds of schools down south that essentially supply, about 20% of the players to all of the Pac-12 conference.
Shekinah Clark with the service error from Oregon State. Crazy 8s. Third set. Stanford leading 2-0. Gray serving. Cross court. Strong serve, McLaughlin. Elevation from Marshall. That got over somehow. Kept alive. And some confusion. The Stanford Cardinal with the point. Oh my goodness. What a point from the Cardinal. As we take another look. That's the end of it. But staying in the fight. 9-8 Stanford. Gray. McLaughlin. There to dig it up is Hentz. They go backside to Lutz. Cross court. And looked like a touch on Oregon State. Point Stanford 10-8.
I think the math of just getting a swing into the blocks for Stanford is so compelling that they're doing everything they can to just get a clean swing.
Gray making herself a home on that end line, serving again, 10-8.
What a serve.
That was a great serve. Oh, Clark. And there's the finish. Mary-Kate Marshall with the kill.
Something's ignited these two teams here in this third set.
Look at that get. What a dig.
The transition to a completely different type of volleyball here.
It's Corey Cheshire serving. Lutz. Oh, man. Marshall with the floater. Lutz blasted that at the Beavers.
Hentz tried to pancake it. Came up just a little bit short.
We're split at 10s. Maddie Goings, the freshman. There's Gray. Far side to Lutz. And the 6'8 redshirt senior finds open court. Lutz ranks 10th all-time in program history in career blocks. But she can certainly do some kill work as well. Over the double block, Hentz with the scoop. Keefe. McLaughlin. Gray. Keefe into the corner. What a kill. 12-10 Stanford. Let's take another look at this if we can. And I don't think we can.
All right.
We'll go into the next point. Catherine Plummer serving 12-10.
Additional note that we don't control the replay board.
McLaughlin tees up a nice set. Kept alive by Gray.
Stanford has spent some time just skittering around the floor. This is the type of matchup that makes you realize, hey, you're going to want to do a good amount of yoga if you're a volleyball player.
Sure. Kayla Ellis will check out for the Beavers. Haley Bennett, the redshirt freshman, in. And serving is McLaughlin. Keefe with a bullet. McLaughlin, backside set, cross court. And it's going to be a touch on Stanford. Point Beavers. Split again at 12s. And number 12 serving. '16 Texas Gatorade Player of the Year. And Keefe going cross court. McLaughlin up. And firing back cross court is Mary Kate Marshall. And she'll get the kill. 13-12 OSU. That was a deep serve from McLaughlin. Keefe into the double block. Oregon State unable to handle it. It was Serena Bruin and Haley Bennett in on the double block, 13 all. So Morgan Hentz serving at 13s. Third set, Stanford leads 2-0. Gray. Pushed over, here's a free ball opportunity for the Beavers. Set up by Massey. Going cross court. That was Marshall. Hentz will push it over. She's been working all over the court. Backside set. Hentz again. Tees up Lutz. Flying on the floor was Massey, and it's point Stanford.
Well, it was a bump set to get the ball over and an aggressive swing, and then what you saw was Massey kind of did a Granby roll to try to get out of the way. That's how bad Oregon State wanted that point. Really throwing in all of the athleticism just to try to make something happen, get that point.
Both teams fighting, battling in this third set. 14-13, Cardinal out in front. And that's Adriana Fitzmaurice in on the kill. And we'll take a timeout on the floor as we fill you in on some fun National Sandwich Day facts. So the sandwich, Chris, is said to be named after the aristocrat John Montague, the 4th Earl of Sandwich in the 18th century, who once spent 24 hours at the gambling table without refreshment, and he only had some slices of cold beef placed between slices of toast. So that then became the sandwich. And the most popular sandwich right now in America is, what do you think?
Something like that?
It's the turkey sandwich.
The turkey sandwich?
Turkey sandwich.
I was going to say, I'm more of a...
And the fact that he spent 24 hours at the gambling table, maybe that spoke to something else, but...
I mean, that sounds like, except for the gambling part, that sounds like a fantastic story.
There you go. John Montague.
The more you know, Ted, the more you know.
Timeout on the court.
Do you have these, like, if I look on the inside of your lapel in your coat, do you have, like, Snapple facts written on there?
Yeah, I just have them glued in there.
All right, I was just making sure they were written down.
Does Snapple still do that? Still write the facts on their
The fun
caps?
facts you can give people. Yeah, I mean, I've been giving people the facts that are written on Snapple caps for a long time. How original.
No, I didn't know if Snapple still wrote them. Do they still do that?
Hey, you know what?
I haven't seen a Snapple in a while.
Unknown.
Stanford plays Oregon on Sunday at Washington University after that, and then at Washington State. 15-13 13. Cardinal on top, set number 3, leading 2-0. Hence serving. Deep serve. Massey. And a deep swing from Mary-Kate Marshall. Out of bounds. The Tree up by 3. Hence again. And a whistle.
Is that a rotation violation? Indeed it was.
It was. Whistle during the serve.
I mean, that's the first rotation violation we've seen today. You don't see those very often.
And a free point. 17 now, serving 13. Hence on the line. Oh. That was a big swing from Lutz. Wow, Hence gets that up. No, they're going to call it a touch. Some scrambling on the floor. And the Beavers get the point on that last shot. 14 serving 17.
So they call it lift there. They don't call it anywhere else. I don't get that.
So there's the lift.
I don't get it.
Mary-Kate Marshall serving. Gray. Oh, that's a quick and low set right to Adriana Fitzmaurice, the sophomore. Puts it away down the line.
So the letter of the law for a lift is one thing.
Look at this quick set to Fitzmaurice. Formico serving. 18-14 Stanford. Swung on by Shakina Clark wide. And Stanford is closing in on set number 3. Up by 5. Kevin Hamley, the coach for Stanford, having a couple of words for his team as Formico gets set. The freshman, 19-14. Cross-court serve from Formico. Some confusion from the Beavers. They'll push it over. Free ball opportunity for the Card. Oh, and it's Jenna Gray. There's some trickery. So Jenna Gray doesn't go to Fitzmaurice. She just pushes it over herself. And the Cardinal hit the 20-point mark in set number 3, 20-14, leading 2-0. They're 5 points away. Where do you see this team going so far, Chris?
So out of the timeout, they did everything right, Ted. What I saw was exceptional communication and kind of a tacit understanding that this game was about to ramp up in terms of the energy level. Every point is hotly contested. We're seeing movement on the floor that we weren't seeing before, and the complexion of this third set just could not be more different from the first two, despite the fact that the lead looks somewhat similar to the leads that Stanford has enjoyed up to this point.
This is going to put the Cardinal 13-0, 20-2 overall if they can get 5 more points. For Oregon State, they would fall and have a losing record in the Pac-12 conference. They'd be 6-7, and then overall they'd be 16-9. So not the best for Oregon State. This was a big match for them. Cardinals seem unstoppable this season.
Yeah, and as crazy as it sounds for Oregon State, they were within striking distance of the top of the conference, not pulling up to Stanford, but second place in the conference is very much up for grabs. Just a couple of games out of full outright second place.
And we've seen quite a battle in the second set, and now here in the third, Stanford closing in on set 3, 20-14, Kate Formico, the freshman serving. Cross court, that's a great serve from Formico. Keefe, cross court. Swung on by Mary-Kate Marshall. She's been getting more involved in this third set as Corey Cheshire will check in for the Beavs. Serena Bruin will check out. And back to serve the libero, Grace Macy. 15-20 and a service error. Gives a free point to the Cardinal, now just 4 points away from closing this match off. Here's Megan McClure. Can't say enough about this freshman McClure from Rancho Santa Margarita. 21-15, Stanford. Gray. Plummer. Oh, what a rocket from Plummer. The Tree up by 7. Third set. McLaughlin, backside. Near side this time to Cheshire. Plummer. Plummer tries to find the sideline. Can't do it. Point Beavers. Ellis will check in. And coming out for the Beavers is Haley Bennett, the outside hitter, redshirt freshman. Kayla Ellis, the junior from Idaho. Led the team last year with 453 digs. Plummer puts some extra juice behind it. McLaughlin with the up. Double block up front from the Cardinal. Macy, double block again. Right on the line. Courtney Bowen now checking in for the Cardinal. First time tonight, I believe. Coming out is Alade. And back to serve is Adriana Fitzmorris, 23-16. 2 points away for the Stanford Cardinal. They're closing this match off. The double block. Fitzmorris pushes it over with the dig over the double block. They reset. Plummer over their double block. And it's match point for the Stanford Cardinal. This would be 15 in a row. And who else? Adriana Fitzmorris to serve. 24-16. Plummer. Fitzmorris. Gray. Plummer again, and that'll do it. The Stanford Cardinal win 15 games in a row. They're now 20-2 overall. Perfect in the Pac-12 Conference. 13-0, 25-18, 25-14, 25-16. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Fitting that Catherine Plummer got the last swing. She was over her previous 4 swings, and it looked as if Stanford was just going to keep giving the ball back to her, had the confidence, and eventually she found a home for one, which despite the fact that there were a number of Stanford Cardinal that had a fantastic game, I think Catherine Plummer directing traffic and having an exceptional volleyball IQ out there really drove the difference in that third set, which, Ted, I think you would agree looked a lot different from sets 1 and 2.
It certainly did, and I don't know what opposing teams need to do to find an answer to this Cardinal team. The only 2 losses were against Penn State, and that makes 15 in a row. This team is on fire.
Yeah, other teams need to do a better job of just playing error-free volleyball. You really can't make a mistake against Stanford. What you don't see from Stanford, you don't see a lot of service errors. You don't see rotations that don't make sense. I mean, even that second-to-last point was an exceptionally well-coached point by Kevin Hambley. It was the short serve. It was kind of the defensive specialist type of point. That was one of the main differentiating factors as we get a look at now the final stats. For the Beavers, it looks like Mary Kate Marshall led everyone with 12 kills. As far as Stanford is concerned, it was fairly well spread out. Fitzmorris and Lutz share a lot of the burden offensively with 11 kills apiece, and then Michaela Keefe with 10 into double digits there, 7 kills for Catherine Plummer. She had the most swings, so if you ask Catherine Plummer, hey, how'd you perform tonight? She might say, hey, not great, but like I said, she directed traffic out there to an extent that allowed Stanford to really pull away. They were in the driver's seat for the duration of the latter half of that third set, even after Oregon State got off to an early lead that actually extended out beyond the first 15 points of the set.
Well, Catherine Plummer sure was effective. For me, it was Michaela Keefe who really stepped up in this match. I was quite impressed with her in sets 2 and 3. This Stanford team seems poised again for a national championship. Make that 15 in a row, 20-2 overall. They take care of the Oregon State Beavers in straight sets. For Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ted Emberg saying so long from Stanford University.